Hey guys, so I have this book called Owls and Other Fantasies, and it is a poetry book by Mary Oliver. I'm annotating it right now for my grandmother because she gave me a Mary Oliver book a couple years ago called Dreamwork, which is this one right here, and it's really good. And I haven't even finished reading everything in here. I go through it occasionally when I'm kind of in a poetry rut and I need some inspiration. But it's her birthday, so I thought I would kind of return the favor. I got this at Loganberry Books, which is in Cleveland, Ohio, and it's an independent bookshop. I've just been going through and annotating it. So you can see here, this is Hummingbirds by Mary Oliver, and I've just been using my markers to highlight, kind of just writing down what I think as I go through and read it. I used to be really against writing in books, but with poetry it's helped me a lot, and there's a lot of room in the margins to write. See, you have all this room to write, which is kind of different than if you were annotating in a prose book. I thought this would just be a fun activity to share with you guys. I also wanted to share some of my favorite lines from this. They all very heavily center on nature, so I thought this would be a nice way to read some poetry and also show some of the pretty landscapes around where I live. Once you've been there, you're there forever. Are the trees near you? And does your own soul need comforting? Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. His wings opening and shedding in a kind of butterfly stroke. She can't resist. They touch, they flutter. How lightly altogether. As though time didn't exist. As though bringing such gifts to the dry shore was a happiness almost beyond bearing. Every winter I stare into the ice of the pond and think of it, still asleep. I suppose in the clasp of the lily roots, for no one has ever seen it again. And then it seemed to crouch high in the air, and then it turned into a white blade which fell. In every heart there is a god of flowers, just waiting to come out of its clouds and lift its wings. As for myself, I am not yet a god of even the palest flowers. The violets among the river are opening their blue faces like small dark lanterns. I think serenity is not something you just find in the world, like a plum tree holding up its white petals. I'll read this next poem in its entirety because it's my favorite poem. Hummingbirds. The female and the two chicks, each no bigger than my thumb, scattered, shimmering in their pale green dresses. Then they rose, tiny fireworks, into the leaves and hovered. Then they sat down, each one with dainty charcoal feet, each one on a slender branch, and looked at me. I had meant no harm. I had simply climbed the tree for something to do on a summer day, not knowing they were there, ready to burst the ledges of their mossy nest and to fly for the first time in their sea-green helmets, with brisk metallic tails, each tooled wing, with every dollop of flight drawing a perfect wheel across the air. Then, with a series of jerks, they paused in front of me, and dark-eyed stared, as though I were a flower. And then, like 3 tossels of silvery water, they were gone. Alone in the crown of the tree, I went to China, I went to Prague. I died and was born in the spring, I found you and loved you again. Later the darkness fell, and the solid moon, like a white pond rose. But I wasn't in any hurry. Likely, I visited all the shimmering, heart-stabbing questions without answers before I climbed down. I think this is the prettiest world, so long you don't mind a little dying. How could there be a day in your whole life that doesn't have a splash of happiness? There was hardly time to think about stopping and lying down at last to the long afterlife, to the tenderness yet to come, when time will brim over the singular pond and become forever, and we will pretend to melt away into the leaves. As for death, I can't wait to be the hummingbird. Can you? I hope you liked those pieces. I was thinking now I could talk a little bit about annotating and just explain the process a little more if you haven't done it before. So basically what you do, or what I do anyways, is I take all my highlighters and my gel black ink 0.5 pen, and I just read through the poetry, and I try to read more slowly than I usually do to really understand the full meaning of what I'm reading, and that way I can write my thoughts more clearly. And I write whatever comes to mind, like if a certain line or word reminds me of something, or the best thing is when you write something and it leads to a larger thought, and you can really explain your whole thought process, and for the person who you're gifting it to, it's like they can read kind of your inner monologue and what's going on in your mind. And I like to do that. Sometimes I write really stupid things like wow, or this sounds really cool. It doesn't have to be anything amazing. It's just supposed to be very genuine. And that is how I annotate this poetry book. I hope you guys enjoyed listening, and I want to thank you guys for spending the time with me talking about poetry. I'll see you guys next week. Hopefully, fingers crossed that I get something uploaded. I'm trying my best. I am so sorry that things have been coming out a little slow lately. But yeah, bye guys.